Meeting is called to order for July 27, 2022, 7 o'clock, 7:01 p.m. To stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you, Madam President. Mayor Hemmings, please.
Present.
Thank you. President Sharon Council Harris.
Present.
Vice President Green Johnson.
Present.
Councilor Talia Jones Borough.
Present.
Councilor Carlette Brooks.
She's in
Councilor Nicole B.
Present.
Councilor Toya Monroe. Councilor Leanna Roeplow.
here.
Thank you. Solicitor in Mr. Mark Munch's office.
Chris Boggs here.
Thank you, Mr. Fox. Mr. Nichols, our finance director. Our tax collector, Ms. Hughes. And a representative for our engineer.
Here.
Thank you.
I'm going to ask for a recess for about 10 minutes to deliver some information to councilors. So if councilors will meet in the executive room for about 10 minutes, we'll be greatly appreciated. Thank you. And the mayor.
Isn't the mayor always invited to executive sessions?
Should be.
Yeah, well, you are. You're always supposed to be included in that, right there. That is incorrect.
So this is a small way for both.
So we gotta discuss.
I want to announce that we just completed a short recess relating to considerations for votes tonight. I want to also announce here tonight that the residents wishing to speak, because this is a special meeting, because it is an abbreviated meeting of our standard legislative session, we will be addressing 3 to 4 items here tonight. The other items that are scheduled for a regular meeting are going to be postponed until the August meeting. So, for the citizens forum, the items that you will be able to speak on tonight will have to do with the consideration of hiring a firm an agency to conduct a police search for chief of police, as well as a proficiency.
That's not on the agenda.
A proficiency. Hold on a minute. Is proficiency study for the Yeadon Police Department. So those items you'll be able to speak on prior to. I want to also announce to you that the other items on the agenda that are not specifically referred to special categories. We'll also be voting tonight on having training for our police officers that relate to mental health issues, training that will relate to diversity, and what's the third one, Councilor? Oh, that is not going to go on this, no, not tonight. That will be next week.
Council President, I'm asking to be recognized.
So this is an abbreviated meeting. Those items that I just mentioned to you that we discussed in executive session, those are the items that you can speak on prior to later tonight. Later in this meeting, you can speak on anything you want, but these items here, according to the Sunshine Act, it's important that you have an opportunity to speak about the items that we will be voting on. Items that we will not be voting on will be at the end of this agenda. And you may take as much time as you like to talk about that. The only, it's a 3-minute limit, excuse me. The only other item is a report from our engineer. That is a standing position on our agendas because they are time sensitive. So I will have the representative from our engineering firm after I guess we probably should do it. We'll switch it. We'll do it now for you because there's no point in you staying for all the extra time. If you can make that report, and then we'll start with the residents wishing to speak.
Council President, there are a few points of order I'd like to take. There are 2 councilors who arrived after. I don't think this meeting was brought back into session. And also, it's on the agenda. If there are any changes, you need to vote on the changes. You need to place the new agenda on the website by tomorrow. And we consistently break that sunshine rule. People are allowed to speak on anything that's on this agenda, and we are supposed to follow the agenda in the order that is written. So I know that myself and Councilor Brooks were not present for roll calls, and I would like
Mr.
to acknowledge.
Make the notation.
It's
made. The notation is made. The engineer has the floor.
So the next item on our agenda is citizens forum. So I don't know how it is that you're trying to prevent these citizens
You're not
from
in control
speaking.
of this meeting.
I'm not. I'm actually trying to follow the agenda, and I have been recognized.
You have the floor. You have the floor, ma'am.
Now, when she adjourns this meeting, when her business gets done and no one gets to speak, understand that this is
You
why.
have the floor, ma'am.
This is
I actually
why.
have a
This
question
is
for
what
the
happens.
solicitor. I have a question for the solicitor with respect to this
You're not
agenda.
recognized. The engineer.
I have a question for the
You
solicitor.
are not recognized.
I have a question for the
You are
solicitor.
not recognized.
I have a question for the
Answer
solicitor. With respect to this agenda.
You have the floor.
So, Mr.
You have the
Solicitor,
floor.
do we
You have
have to
the
vote
floor.
in order to change or make amendments to the agenda? Yes or no? Mr. Solicitor, I will remind you that you serve at the pleasure of the entire council, not as one councilor. I would appreciate an answer. Thank you, Mr. Solicitor.
You have the floor.
No, we don't have the entire
whole council.
because I believe other councilors would like to hear the answer as well.
You have the report. Do the report.
We're asking, we've asked the question of our solicitor. We're trying to make sure that we want to maintain order. We want to act in decency, but you are not permitting it. We have asked the solicitor a question.
We're going to continue this meeting and give honor to the residents that are here.
So yes, in honoring the residents that are here, like you said, the next item on this agenda is
You are not in
citizens
control
forum.
of this meeting, Ms. Monroe. You're
And
in
neither
control.
are you, evidently, because you're not following the agenda.
Do whatever you think you need to do, but
You are not following the agenda.
You have the floor.
Mr.
When she's
Solicitor, I am a little
done, she's going to try to take a vote on the money. She's going to adjourn this meeting, and none of you will be
These
able
tax
to
dollars
speak.
actually pay your salary.
If you want to.
Another violation of the sunshine.
This is a violation of the Sunshine Act.
Report in writing. We'll take it now. We'll move to the next.
This is a violation, this is a complete violation of the Sunshine Act. You have to, why publish an agenda if you're not going to follow it?
And not, yeah.
You have to, the Sunshine Act requires that we publish an agenda for any meeting 24 hours beforehand. We have to post this legally 24 hours in advance so that the public can see it and that they're able to ask questions on it.
Go right ahead.
And you are not following the agenda. Citizens have been here since 5:30 PM waiting to speak. They turned in their papers, they are ready for their 3 minutes, and that is not okay.
You are disrupting this meeting, Ms.
I am not disrupting this meeting, I'm reminding you that we have an agenda for a reason, and this agenda is supposed to be followed by state law.
Go ahead.
So how is it that you were dismissing the agenda that
You
you
are
published?
interrupting the engineer from giving her report.
I am not
What is
interrupting
your
the engineer.
problem? What is your problem?
I am
Mrs.
not
Crowe?
disrupting the
You have
engineer.
sat
I
in
am
this
advocating
chair.
for
You
our
have sat in this
citizens.
chair and you conducted meetings.
I am
You are out
advocating
of
for
order.
our citizens.
So
If
you
we
want-
are
you're
going
not
to
doing
change,
anything for the citizens.
if we are going
advocating for us.
if you are going to change this meeting,
Dictatorship is the problem.
And you need to
If
be
you are going
excused,
to
sir.
change
You need to
this
be
yourself.
excused, sir.
you need to vote. You need to
Follow the
take a vote.
agenda.
You need to take a vote to change the agenda. Why don't you
Respect
take
the
the vote?
Mr. Rowe, we're not doing
Take
that.
the vote.
Then you
Take the vote to change the agenda.
Rules of orders and parliamentary procedures are not.
Take the vote to change the agenda. That is the that is the procedure.
For her to keep talking.
Why are you afraid to put it to a vote? Why are you afraid to put it to a vote?
Vote to change the
Why are you
agenda.
screaming in this auditorium? You need to stop interrupting this meeting.
You need to follow the agenda.
You need to leave.
You need, thank you.
You need to follow
Are
the
you gonna give
agenda.
your report?
You need to follow the
I
agenda.
apologize for this.
You
Mr.
need to
Solicitor,
follow
you
the
can end
agenda.
all of this by providing us with a legal rendering.
The agenda is a may. The agenda includes all items that will and may be discussed. It is not a requirement.
Thank you.
Are we required to publish the agenda 24 hours in advance? Are we required to make, if there's changes to the agenda, are we required to vote on it and republish the new agenda?
No, that's your interpretation.
Mr. Solicitor,
It's not a change to the agenda. The agenda is not being changed. It's, things on the agenda are not going to be discussed.
It's being changed if it's being a real right.
so we're omitting what's on
Yes.
the agenda.
We're omitting things on the
At
agenda.
the
Correct. That does not
discretion,
need.
the agenda that was
The
published.
discretion
So
of the
if Kelly
president.
Johnson came here to discuss her contract, she would have come based on the agenda that was published. You cannot just willy-nilly change the agenda.
At the discretion
Okay.
of one.
Would you please respect the
That's
engineer and
not
allow her
allowed.
to give her report?
Would you please respect the people that put
Would you
you here?
please shut your
Would
mouth?
you please respect the people who put you
Shut
here
your mouth.
and allow them
Go
to
ahead,
speak?
ma'am.
They have put
Go
in their
ahead.
time, they
You
have
are
cast their
disrupting
votes,
this
and
meeting.
you should listen to them.
Yeah, ma'am. This is ridiculous.
This is
Yes,
ridiculous.
dictatorship is ridiculous. It fears the truth. It fears outside scrutiny.
He's not telling a lie.
You don't.
That's probably why you don't understand him.
Sorry for the delay, you may
There's
continue.
one item I just want to bring to your attention that will require action on your part tonight, which is 5D, the consideration for a resolution to apply for the DCD Multimodal Transportation Fund for a grant for the Church Road Business District Streetscape. If this is awarded, it will be announced in early 2023. This will take about a year of design and permitting, and funds would not be extended until 2024 for this project. Improvements include sidewalk, decorative signals, benches, bus stops. The grant requirement is a 30% match, which is identified in the resolution. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention because that is something that we would need motion on to
Time
proceed with the application.
May I have a motion, please?
Community gets a chance to speak on that and you're omitting
Properly
that.
second. Are there any questions?
Community gets a chance to speak on that and you're
The
omitting that.
community should get a chance to speak on any agenda item, any agenda item that's being voted on.
And who's second? I did. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
it's been moved to properly second. Are there any questions?
I have a question.
If you have a question, direct it to.
I have a question.
Direct it to the.
I
engineer.
have a question. Where is Church Road
Hello.
located?
Gunther Ave.
Where's Church Road?
Church Lane, I apologize.
Oh,
Church
okay.
Lane, between Whitby and Gunther.
We have 2 business districts.
So y'all have to amend, you have to amend the motion,
Not
it's
to
the wrong
not
street.
to the- Not to the,
It
not to
is
the
the
public,
wrong
only
street.
to the, only, you only answer.
It is
Excuse me, only direct the question, answer any response you have to the council, not to the public, please.
I have a
Council,
question.
please ask that question.
I have a question. We have 2 business districts. What about the other one?
I was made aware of this one as a priority for this project. We can certainly discuss other improvements going forward with other projects.
How much is the 30% match?
The total project estimate is $955,000. The request is $668,000, and the match portion is $286,000.
Is it in the budget?
You can answer that question, just.
Well, our finance director, he's not council, and also not the engineer.
Thank you.
I have another
Are there
question.
any other questions?
Yes, I have more questions.
Councilor, you are.
Is this the first time that you presented this to council? Because this is the first time I'm hearing of it. I just want to make sure that I'm staying abreast of my emails and everything else. But this is the first time that I'm hearing of it, and I'm being asked to vote. I don't have any additional information. Is this the first time that you presented it?
At a public meeting, yes, it is.
Have you presented it at a private meeting to someone else?
No, I have not. The project has been in discussion for possible projects and improvements. However, to council, this is the first time.
Okay, all right.
So, just so I'm clear,
So,
I have a question. So just so I'm clear, this is the first time this was presented to the entire
And you
council?
guys got to vote on
This is the, correct, this is the first time.
And we have to vote on it, so we really haven't had an opportunity to really review any written information with respect to, what it all entails. We did not have any input with respect to the, other business district that is within Yeadon. And you did say this was told to you that this was a priority.
Who told you that?
This-
You said that, right?
This was one of the potential projects that falls into this grant category, is what I would say. There was a few projects that were expressed as a need for the borough that we found this funding to be appropriate for.
Okay, but it was expressed by whom?
Borough staff, who in various meetings with the manager is where these projects have stemmed from.
Okay.
oh, may I ask a question? Yes, Councilor Johnson has the floor.
Is there a time limit on this?
This grant is due July 31st, so Sunday.
Oh, in a few days.
It's over $300,000, about $300,000 project.
Okay. Let me.
And I don't even know if it's in the
Okay,
budget.
excuse me. When this attorney firm, this engineering firm was hired, she is in charge of the grant writing department, or works in the grant writing department. It is their responsibility in serving this community to look at its infrastructure and see what is needed. They then select projects that may fit a need internally to this community. And they have deadlines that they have to meet. They bring it to us. We expect them to bring those to us. They have raised more than $2 million in grants for this town to improve the infrastructure of Yeadon. So it's a matter of following their lead to help our town. That's what we pay them for. So I'm gonna call for the vote.
I have a question.
No further questions. I'm
Do you
calling for the
live
vote.
in Yeadon?
I do not.
Okay.
So no
My other question would be,
All in favor, would you indicate?
when did you receive knowledge of this
All
grant?
in favor, would you indicate
When
by
did you
raising your
find out about
hand?
it?
Questions are still being asked, so how are you calling for the vote when questions are still being asked?
All in favor.
Questions are still being asked, so we
You're
can't.
not in charge, Councilman.
And obviously, you don't know how to be in
The motion
charge.
carries.
No, the motion does not
Where's the money coming from?
Those that are, it is for the budget. The budget is for 2023.
And I also think that this motion needs to be amended to say Church Lane for the record.
Thank
We
you.
don't have a church road in Yeadon.
All right, good vote.
Okay.
That's not it.
Okay, that's it.
That's it.
Those
Church,
that
no
are
coordination of the
We don't
residents.
have
Nobody
no
is bringing information to the residents to even get their input. We're just being notified of it
are
this evening
opposed, would you raise
because
your
they have a
hand?
deadline within 4 days.
Those that are opposed, would you indicate by raising your hand?
Violating the Sunshine Act.
And, so is that an abstention vote by not raising your hand?
I don't have that.
So if you're
Is that
abstaining.
an abstention from Rick?
Indicate.
Thank you. The record will reflect that Ms. Monroe, Ms. Beatty, and Ms. Rollcloud abstained from the vote.
Okay.
So the record will not reflect that because I did not say I was abstaining. I'm straight saying no.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. All right. That, and then the motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Citizens. For the citizens forum. Agenda items only. Mr. Jaffe? Yes, sir. Take the photo.
Good evening, Council.
Yes, sir.
We are here again today, and I think that the community and the family deserve some information from this council to talk about the death of a 22-year-old male. I'm here again tonight to ask you to please impress upon I don't see why it's hard. I don't see why it's hard. I know none of you pay it out of your pocket, whether there's whatever the suits are, but at least many of you are women on this council, and I'm sure you all have the sympathy for mom. Why is it that we're not hearing from this borough, from the mayor, from the council, in reference to this child? I heard you say your agenda tonight include discussion on training for police officers. That's a lot of work. It should have been done before Sean died.
Right.
So what I'm saying is that, do you want us to come back again to give you time to be able to say to us, we are investigating? The word we are investigating is too hard for the mayor to tell the people of Yeadon and the family of this child? Thank you. I'm only here just to ask something that is human. Simple as giving some information to the family to say, we're working on it. We're investigating. You want the folks to come here every evening or every time you come here and make noise on the street? Is that the solution to a child death? Thank you.
I do have those answers in my report when I'm allowed to speak. I do have those answers.
I would also like to say to the family that CID is investigating, and it will be approximately 2 more weeks before before that investigation is complete. So something is being done. We are ensuring that something is being done.
Your Honor, the way we do things is, if you write us on borough letterhead, tell us this is what we do, this is what we're working on. But your silence means complacency. I'm saying you may be doing something, but until you write the family so that we can be able to tell the world, the community, and everybody else is asking us, you've done nothing. So I do understand you're doing something administratively in the back end, but that need to be in writing. And you don't have to implicate yourself. You can just say, we're sorry that this child died, but we are investigating. Family gave us some time to work on it. I'm not going to teach you administration, and that's not my intent. But if I were in the situation you are in today, that is what I would do.
May I ask you a question? Has the family received the incident report from the police department? Sir,
Right now,
have you received any incident
Nothing.
report from our police department?
nothing, because the police or family working through their attorney or its attorney is still, I just got word tonight that got the first stage of death certificate. There is a second stage of death certificate. There is issue with estate planning. All of that is what the family is working with. But I just expect, out of being human, all of us being human, to just, or for the mayor to appoint somebody that liaise with the family. Say to the family, look, this is what we're doing to answer some of your concerns. We're not here to make trouble for anybody. That is just the way, this is a human being that died.
Permission to speak, Madam President. He directly asked the mayor for answers, and I think this is a good juncture to, because I have those
Mayor,
answers.
if we could.
Well, he asked me personally.
Oh, I don't want you to give your report. What I'd like to do is hear
Mr.
from.
Joseph, I do have those
You'll be able to share that.
I don't want you to give it to me. I want you to.
I have it written down.
You know what, and I'm just gonna say
No,
this.
sir. No, sir.
I'm gonna be completely transparent with you and the family.
Clara Johnson.
All of council do not
Clara
know
Johnson.
what is happening with respect to the investigation.
Clara
People
Johnson.
are working in silos, and information is not being shared collectively with council.
Come up and.
And it's very embarrassing that you have 7 counselors and at least 3 or 4 of them have no idea what's happening. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
Okay, Ms. Johnson, you have the mic.
Yeah, I'm not aware of everything
3
either
minutes.
at this point.
Thank you.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on either. None of us do.
Ms. Johnson.
Excuse me, Council President. Are we
Just-
saying?
Sir, thank you.
Go right ahead, Ms. Johnson.
I apologize to you for that. Well, I do gather that there has been an executive meeting, even though no one came out and
So
said.
you might down something.
I guess I can say that there have been an executive meeting, even though no one came out and said we had an executive meeting to discuss whatever. No, you're not supposed to, please, because if you do it, I'm telling you, I'm gonna take more than 3 minutes and you're not gonna stop.
Excuse me?
My question is.
Ms. Johnson, would you proceed, please? Ms. Johnson, proceed.
My question is, does Gary Court have a contract or just salary? Why is he getting paid by events?
That's not an agenda item.
That's not an agenda item, ma'am.
It actually is on the agenda, and this is on the accounts payable. Core Consulting LLC is on the accounts payable list.
$4,000.
Yep.
For a little bit more than that. For $3,305. Is that the amount you're referring to?
Yes, I am,
All right.
thank you, and I know it's on the accounts payable, thank you.
Okay.
It still is a question, and I know you're not going to answer it, but it stands to the floor, and since we have, old business, I'm gonna ask this question every time we come up with the old business. Because it's ridiculous to continue to hire people and just pay them willy-nilly. The other question is, I thought that Mr. Nichols was, the good steward is over our general fund. I'm a little annoyed and not understanding why I see an employee's name on our AP list, which should be on an employee, the one we just hired. It should not be come out of, out of our general funds. So I don't know, yeah, it's on the AP, let's check the AP.
Wages should not be paid out of the general fund.
Should not.
So that is a question I would like to have answered as well. It's on page 1. $299.52 retro wages. Why are we paying
Well, that's she's gonna be
wages?
silent. She's gonna be silent now, maybe she'll answer them at the end of her report. I also want to address our quality of life here. I spoke to the borough manager, in retrospect to a couple of homes. He did come out and review those homes. However, the one in the 1100 would be.
Your time is up, ma'am.
I'm sorry, I didn't.
Time is up.
No, my time isn't up.
No, yes,
My
ma'am.
time is
No,
not
ma'am,
up.
your time is up.
Yes,
Angela.
No, ma'am, your time is up.
Ms. Angela Lee, you're next.
She's not there.
You took it up, you have some time that want to yield to me. Anybody got any time that they want to yield to me? Because I gladly take it.
I will yield my 3 minutes to you.
And tell me I can't have it when you did it to Penny last week. Yeah, I know my stuff. You're right. I used to serve on council and I served with you. We don't want to go there though. I spoke to Mr. Dotson
Yes,
in
ma'am.
reference to a home. He never got back to me. We had a good conversation on the phone. He's a good salesman, but the house still got everything growing up. The window was covered. And when I come back on the next one, I'm gonna have about 50 more of what our quality life is looking like now, because the only thing that this council is worried about is lawsuits.
Frivolous ones.
Lawsuits. Money that you're spending, and we already know that we are, the taxpayers is going to have to pay a burden.
$10 million restore lawsuit.
We already know that. But what you guys don't know is that you're carrying us into receivership.
They know, they don't care.
You should, Ms. Rich.
Okay, Ms. Angela Lee.
Okay. Basically, I have a few questions. I would like to know, did we participate in the state green light program? 7 municipalities around us did. It was $37.8 million. It was also reimbursement grants. Did we participate in that? No, yes, no answer, okay.
No, we didn't.
Okay. The other item, my neighbor said that she called Mr. Dodson and he told her that the pandemic was over, which is not, according to the World Health Organization and the CDC, because she would like to attend the meetings, but she's a caretaker for her 98-year-old mother. So until the World Health Organization says it's over and we move into the endemic stage, it's not. I would like to know, where is the money for the community day coming from when the community budget went from 30,000 to 0? Who is going to fix the report a concern page on the web page? It shows up as not found, 404, moved or deleted. Also, when Chief Chachi was here, there were law enforcement grants that we were able to get to upgrade technology. There was a plan to get a crisis intervention specialist, which we did not get. And when you go into the webpage and look at the police department, every single report that he made says that training was ongoing. There was mental health training, even trained the crossing guards. So I want to know, is that still going on, or is that going with the wind? Finally, we have 17.9 residents that are 65 or older. What are you doing to make access to these meetings? I don't understand why we can't have the Zoom meetings where these people, including myself, can watch from home instead of coming up here while we have this Omicron variant going on. So you didn't answer my questions, but I'm putting it out there. I have my whole block, a lot of people over 65 that would come near this place. And if it's over, why do you have those plastic shields down there if the pandemic is over? I like an answer to that, because those shields should be down. You don't have any respect for the residents when you have this captain here like sardines, less than a foot away.
So right.
I don't think that's fair. So that's all I have to say. I think we lost a lot when we lost the chief. If you go on the webpage for the Yeadon Police Department, all the training that he instituted when he was here is on here. And I think that if we have a public works, public safety person committee, they need to look at it.
It's only on paper. She says she's not that. It's only on
And
paper.
no questions answered.
Now we'll be doing that. Ms. Waters says she's not.
It also took a lot of overtime to conduct that training.
The next person is Ms. Anna.
As council members, you have the fiduciary responsibility to properly spend the borough dollars. Public safety should be one of the highest priorities, and yet we have watched as you systematically defunded the police. 4 months ago, we were told that the police were understaffed by 5 or 6 full-time police officers. Now that it is not in your interest to admit that, council is trying to change the narrative. Having defunded the police and refusing to spend on public safety, you are partially responsible for Sean's death. You need to accept that, and you need to admit that. Residents no longer feel safe. You need to listen to them. You have handcuffed the police. We need to provide the police with the tools, equipment, and staffing to allow them to protect the residents of this borough. As a fellow resident so eloquently stated, this building is 37 years old. The facilities are antiquated and unsafe, and we need to spend on that. How many more people need to die, be assaulted, be carjacked, or be a victim of crime before you set aside and make public safety a priority again? The former police chief always made public safety a priority, and you have vilified him. I have about 2 minutes remaining, and I'm conceding that to Liz.
You have 1 minute and 53
I have
seconds.
about 2 minutes
You
left.
have
I
1
time
minute and
myself.
53 seconds.
Now that restores $10 million federal lawsuit naming members of the zoning board has been filed. There is talk that there wasn't really a hearing in January. Carl Ewald submitted a transcription of the alleged zoning board hearing. The transcript was based on a video. That video needs to be uploaded to the borough webpage immediately. You've dragged us into lawsuit after lawsuit, and this one apparently was based on fraud. Members of the zoning board better stand the hell up and give an accounting of themselves. Whatever Sharon paid you, promised you, or threatened you is not going to be worth it. And don't forget my real 3 minutes.
I would like to say, for the record, we have 18 police officers. It has been historically, approximately for the last...
We don't have 18.
The last 6, we just hired another one.
Part-time. We have 6
We have 17 full-time police officers, and we just hired a part-time officer.
So I'm going to talk about the tax collector because I still have time left. The tax collector needs an office, and we're trying to take away the tax collector's office. We should not be doing that. She has help the residents when she can see the paperwork.
The tax collector does have an office.
And you're trying
Right
to take
now,
it away.
No, you're not.
Yes, you are.
You can't take it away. You're responsible for her.
Colleen Kennedy.
Colleen Kennedy. I just wanted to thank you for letting me speak. I'm actually a member of the Democratic State Committee, so this community is part of my constituency. I want to apologize to the family of Sean of everything that has transpired in the last couple of weeks. I have a couple of questions. I don't have a ton of them, but they will be answered, but I hope that folks will listen. So number one, in regards to item 5A, the consideration of a mental health first aid training. My first question is, were they not already being trained?
Yes, they were.
Okay.
It's on their website.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I had
Sheet is here.
It takes a lot of overtime to accomplish all
Okay.
this training.
It'd be all right for me to finish
The
my question,
pressure.
so that I can answer, so I okay. Sorry, I don't mean to be disrespectful.
No problem.
Okay. How can we properly train the police officers in relation to this recent tragedy when we haven't finished an investigation into this tragedy? That's a concern that I think that you'll take into account, even if this item is passed. This is not the completion of that part of the work. Number 3, whether it's voted on in this council or not, each of the people on the dais have a responsibility to take all action as residents of this community to refer this case to the Department of Justice Civil Affairs Division should they believe that this has been a violation of civil rights. And I do believe that that has been the case. It was a violation of his mental health, it was a violation of his disability. What is the nature of the investigation? I know that this council-member body has really struggled with trying to get along, trying to be transparent. And I know that everyone on this stage really cares about this community, but communication has been a failure here. And at minimum, communication to the family should be happening. It clearly is not. I've now been to 2 meetings where representatives of that family have made clear that's not happening. That needs to be better. Finally, really quickly, I just want to say that I'm glad that you're assembling a blue ribbon panel to investigate all of this, but 3 law enforcement officers or former law enforcement officers is not what I expect as far as diversity. And if we're really going to get to the heart of what happened here and make sure it never ever happens again, you need to be bringing to the table family members, you need to be bringing to the table mental health practitioners, and you also need to be bringing to the table legal agencies, including the Department of Justice, and be okay with whatever accountability looks like, even if it's painful for this community. Because ultimately, you all are afraid of lawsuits. That's been a theme of these meetings. But the only thing that's more expensive, all right, the only thing that's more expensive than a lawsuit is more lawsuits. And if you don't fix the problem, you will have more lawsuits. So let's get it right this time. Let's fight for Sean and make sure this never happens again. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, under reports is
She has time. I have my own citizen's report.
No.
Oh, yes, she had 1 minute. I had time.
I had requests. What happened to you? Lose it?
Same with Michael.
Your requests that are not related to these agenda items that we have to vote on now.
Mine is an agenda item.
That we have to vote on now will be at the end of this.
I can't wait that long. I got another meeting to go to.
I'm sorry, Mr. Trent.
All right, you really being like a dictator or what? You don't let people speak if they're supposed to?
If it is not what we're voting on,
It was. I have items that was going to be vote on.
It's an agenda item.
Go right ahead.
It is an agenda item.
Go right ahead for the minute.
Mr. Trent, you should demand.
You got the minute.
She does this
Give your minute.
every time. She has 3 minutes.
No, I'm sorry, Mr. Trent's form says various items. He did not stipulate.
At the time, I didn't know it was going to restrict what we could speak about. I do have items that I was going to speak about that are on here that you talked about.
That's what
That was before you went into executive session and then came back and said you couldn't speak on everything. I didn't know that at the time I filled it out. So now you want to limit me because of that? I'll speak on that.
They can't limit you.
No, 3 minutes.
She conceded her time.
3 minutes.
She did not concede her time.
Conceded her time.
Yeah.
I had 3 minutes, I spoke for 1 minute, she spoke for 1 minute, and you spoke for some of it, and I spoke for the rest of it. And they have 3 minutes.
Your time to her.
No, I considered 2 minutes. She did not concede her time.
Are you conceding your minute to her? Is that
She
what
has
you're
3
saying?
minutes to speak.
She's using her own minutes, her own 3 minutes.
All it is, just so.
Go right ahead.
Just so a citizen can speak. They could just, all of this.
Let her speak. You have 3 minutes.
They took more than 3 minutes.
We're waiting.
All right, I got a full
3 minutes.
3 minutes. I have read Borough Code, I have read the PA Borough Council Handbook, I have read the PA Borough Mayor's Manual. There is nothing in there that gives council the authority to create mandates for the police department. You've been pulling this nonsense all year, Sharon. We've been through this before. You can't create policies for the police. You can't request that they take any classes that are not provided by the state or federal government. Furthermore, every demand you have made regarding the police department is already part of their training and policies. Diversity hire, mental health training, autism training, implicit bias training, it's all there. We know this from interactions with the police officers and from Chief Chachi's monthly police reports, which are posted on the website for all to read. He sees every opportunity to build community relations. He showed the movie Walking While Black to everyone who would watch it and to his department. The problem is not that we don't have good policy, it's that good policy did not get followed. People occasionally forget routine things. People forgetting to put on their seatbelt can have tragic consequences, and that's why safety features were developed. Chief Chachi was our safety feature. Now, instead of doing anything sensible about the tragedy of Sean's death, you are using his death for your own purposes. Why has neither council nor the mayor arranged for a sit-down with the DA, Sean's family, and their lawyer to review the findings of the DA investigation? Our police wear body cameras. If, after reviewing the body cameras and everything else, they think an independent investigation is in order, that would be the time to discuss it. Instead, you make them come to legislative meetings so you can grandstand? When Sean's cousin asked you for answers last week, you replied like a smartass, "See you next month." When Leslie asked the family to stand so they could be seen in their grief, you stood too, wobbling gently like a deranged Humpty Dumpty. Your increasingly irrational behavior is alarming. You adjourned the May workshop meeting and said it was because the mayor wouldn't give you the microphone. You were holding a microphone. You adjourned the meeting because you couldn't have two microphones. Your big sister was 74 when she was so far gone from dementia that she was afraid she'd get lost if she left the fence at the end of your driveway. You're turning 68. You are only 6 years out. That's all. Mental health is the agenda item. We require all of our officers to have a psychiatric evaluation before they are hired. And here you are abusing our $8 million budget, getting us into multiple million-dollar lawsuits, and trying to take charge of the police department. We're paying Dr. McLaughlin $250 to pay for Officer Kemper's evaluation. That is not. That is ridiculous.
Ma'am, your time is up. 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 Ma'am, your time is up.
Need to work into
Ma'am, your time is up.
Can't understand a word you say. Thank goodness. Okay.
The police will hold away. We don't have enough police there. We're out to demonstrate.
That's all right. The first citizen is opposed to some people. For consideration for their
Modify the agenda.
I'd like to find the solicitor, since the motion 5D was not amended, I mean, how are they gonna have something for Church Road when it should have been Church Lane? Shouldn't that, Mr. Solicitor, shouldn't that have been amended to say Church Lane instead of Church Road?
He's afraid to lose his job. He can't speak, he's afraid to lose his job.
Item 5D, I'll let you know what I'm talking about. The consideration and gauge services of the Valeric Group. How are they selected? They're up there near New York. They're North Jersey. They're 200 miles away, 100 miles away.
They're now in South Jersey, sir.
Excuse me?
They're now in South Jersey.
They're now in South Jersey.
Yes, sir.
And
They just recently transitioned. Go ahead, sir.
you're
Go
the one-
ahead. Oh, I shouldn't be.
Chill out. Can you let me speak?
Yeah, go ahead.
How were they selected?
She selected them.
That's what I'm always figuring. It's like, are these always people that you?
Yeah, she selected them.
Chair? Sorry, Jess.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, how did you select? What was their criteria? I mean, it's just like you selected Carl Ewald. It's like, you know, our law costs right now, I think for the month.
You know, it's not a question and answer, Mr. Trainer.
Excuse me?
The solicitor reminded me, it's not a question and answer. You can just make your point, sir.
Whatever.
Uh-huh.
It's just like Gary Core, you pay him $1,000 for event coverage. I mean, what was he making, 100 an hour? Y'all just have favorites. Y'all just throw money out at people for nothing.
Did you see the amended one where he's making $3,000?
Well, that's where it's supposed to job. This was just a one-day event, Flag Day, event coverage, $1,000. I mean, you know, I wish I could make the money.
You have to address
Just
the
to
chair,
show
Mr.
up.
Trainer. You can only address the chair.
Excuse me?
You can only talk to the chair. You can't talk to them.
Can you speak
Boy,
in the mic?
you were looking over that way
Sir,
before when I was talking.
Sir, you have to be respectful. Thank you.
It's just like the newsletter.
Not her.
It's like $4,800 for newsletters. How are they gonna be distributed to the citizens? Are they gonna be, you know, somebody gonna deliver again and get paid $3,500 or whatever? How are they gonna be delivered to the citizens? I mean, before we used to have them mailed, and it costs a lot less than what you're using our money for to do this. Well, it's not
You should see how many boxes are still upstairs.
It is true.
Is not true.
Previous administrations not spend money.
So this is his 3 minutes.
This is how I
This
did
is
it.
his 3 minutes. Come on, Mr. Trent. Keep talking. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Violating his Sunshine Act, Talia.
Nobody violating nothing. You be
Listen
quiet.
here, go Tamika. Calm down, Mr. Gray. Go ahead, Mr. Trent. Mr. Trent, you got about 30 more seconds additional, because
And I'm just trying to figure out what, you have a company that provides IT services, then you had last month somebody that you hired as a webmaster, and I'm trying to figure out how Gary Core fits in all that. I mean, the website looks a mess half the time. There's typos, there's errors. I didn't want to get into all of them, but I mean, you know, he needs to do a better job. He doesn't show up anymore to do the videotape. So why are we paying $3,300 or more? Just like Joel Avery that nobody knows of or ever seen.
I know several reporters trying to get in touch with Mr. Avery and he don't return the call. So I would like the audience to also realize how we hire and fire all on a dime. So hiring this Valori firm next week when they fire, don't pay it, don't sleep, don't sleep.
Okay, so.
I go to my other meeting. Thank you.
Look, on the agenda you see, rescinding Kelly Johnson. Don't believe it.
The consideration of the accounts payable list for July, may I have a motion to approve the accounts payable list?
Delete that code and the properly delete that code.
Thank you very much. Are there any further questions?
I have a question.
All right.
Are you going to amend the employee's wages that's listed on the AP list that should not be?
No.
Why not?
Why not?
Okay. Yeah, we'll know.
Well, you put it on the AP list, which is public, so you can't put it on the AP list, have it be public, and then say we can't adjust, we
can't do.
No, we can't.
What you can't do is spell personnel, but we ain't gonna go there.
Okay, okay. Are there any other questions regarding?
I have a question.
It's called cover up.
I have several questions.
You all should know.
I have,
That's why you're answering, because you do know.
You all should know. You was working for her day.
You, Jackson, and Shannon. You know.
Say
You
it again.
know.
Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. Say it again. So I can take your little raggedy behind her. Say it again. Say it again, food stamp friend. Say it again, food stamp friend. Has anyone checked her criminal record? Has anyone checked your criminal record? Don't bring my business into this. Don't bring my business into this. Don't bring my business into this. You raggedy yourself. Come on, fashion.
You're the only one saying box.
Get a liar.
All right, any other questions with regards to,
I said I had questions.
Junior high school.
My first question, for consultant LLC, $1,000 for event coverage for Flag Day, 6/18. I have no idea what coverage he provided. Did the coverage include the 40+ pictures that was placed on the borough's website? $1,000 for how many hours? The event wasn't an all-day event.
For nothing but a block party.
That's a problem. Then we have up here 95 signs for street signs, $762.50. We have Kelly's trophies, $302.57. Are these the same trophies that's stored in the executive room that have yet to be distributed to any winners? So we bought some more trophies for something else? We bought some more trophies?
No, ma'am.
Or are those the trophies?
They're the remaining trophies.
They're remaining trophies.
16 in total remaining trophies that are in the conference room.
So those are overage.
I'm sorry.
So it's overage.
It's overage.
Okay, but we spent $302 and we went over for things we didn't need. Linwood Morris, car show, Flag Day, $1,000. So the trophies was for the participants of the cars, correct? Yes, no?
What's your question? I don't know what you're talking
Were the trophies for the participants for the car show?
Yes.
Okay, so here's the situation. Why are we paying, first of all, the people who wanted to participate in the car show paid an entry fee, not to the borough, but to Linwood Morris. So they paid an entry fee. So we turned around, paid Linwood Morris $1,000, and then we also paid for the trophies for the participants in a car show. So why did he charge the participants an entry fee? Did we get any of that? Nope. And then there we go. We don't know, right? No, we didn't get it. So that's rhetorical. We didn't get it. But that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, the people that came into the car show did have to pay to be in it.
Who did they pay? Who did they pay? Did they pay it to the borough?
They paid it to the borough. Yes.
Where? Because that's not on
So
any
speak
account.
with Nafi Snickles, the finance director.
Oh, he's not here.
And he will let you know that that
he
money
doesn't.
did come. Excuse me, do you want the answer?
You just gave it to me. Thank you.
No, she'll let you
about
know.
$780.
Lies and garbage.
Well, I'm going to confirm,
It's garbage.
So it's not
It's
garbage.
garbage.
I will confirm with
It's
Mr.
garbage.
I will confirm with Mr. Nichols.
Yes,
How much we get from
That-
businesses?
Excuse me, sir, you have to address your question to the chair.
Madam Chair, how much do we know how much we got underwritten by businesses?
I don't have that information.
Is that
We get it from the finance director.
We will follow up with Mr. Nichols. I'll be
It's
sure.
called old business. It's always on the.
Also, Karina Sims, $299.52 for retro wages. Do we mean retroactive wages? Like what happened? We owed her some money? And why is it being taken out of this general fund? Why is part of her salary being taken out of our general fund? Oh, refer me to the finance director. Okay, well, this is what okay. So, I will ask the finance director, but this is what I think happened. I think Ms. Sims was offered a salary in writing, and that salary was incorrect, and she was paid a less salary. And I believe this is to pay the difference.
She's not grasping at straws.
This was to pay the difference. And we have to oblige the salary that we originally quoted in writing.
That's a personnel matter.
Okay, but it's
a personnel matter. You cannot discuss this film. You cannot discuss. You cannot call a employee's name on this floor. If you are calling her name, you are calling her name, and you are not supposed to You did. So there you go. Good. I'm glad. Good. And you're recording. So that's on the AP list, and it says retro wages. It does not have to. You're just upset. You cannot disclose an employee's name on this floor. You exposed it. You exposed it. You exposed it. You've not been trying to be nickel slick. You wouldn't have made this Canada in the States. If you wasn't trying to be slick, you wouldn't have made this Canada in the States. Well, I'm not finished. I'm not finished. I'm not done. I'm not done. I am not done. I'm not done. I'm not finished. Now, we have here animal control services for $250. Those are closed. I need to know from someone, I guess in the police department, whether or not we have animal services for this community that we're paying for. Because last I checked,
I didn't vote yet.
Did you vote?
she's listening. We're going to discuss this funding. We're going to discuss this funding, Sharon. We're discussing this funding.
The floor.
We're going to discuss this money's being spent, and you don't want to be transparent. You don't want to be transparent.
I need your vote.
Voted no. Councilman Rowe, please. Councilman Rowe, please.
Oh, sorry, I was listening to Councilor Rowe.
That's all right, because she don't want the truth to be out here.
Ms. Monroe, I hear your response.
Go ahead.
So, I could answer the, no, excuse me, Monroe. Ms. Monroe, what was your response?
That's true. That's true.
Ms. Rosenthal, what was your response, please?
How you gonna ask for my response and I had questions on the floor? What is wrong with you?
The motion is on the floor.
second.
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second. Are there any questions in regards to the cash balance report for June?
What is the cash balance report?
Where is the cash balance?
What's the cash balance?
No, it's in your package. It's in your package.
What's the cash balance? How much is the cash that we have?
It's in your packet from last week.
I ain't going, yes, but not the next lady for money, because you can't be trusted. This administration can't be trusted, at all. At all.
All in favor, would you indicate by raising your hand?
Well, look, I had a question. How much is the cash balance? What's our cash balance?
It was in your last week. It was in
For the
your-
benefit of the public who don't have all of this
You don't
information.
have it.
How much? That's not the way to go.
It was delivered to your house.
How much is it?
How much is the cash balance?
How much is it?
She's so moved.
So for the business. I mean, it's never gonna be posted online. So how much is the cash balance report? Like, how much is the cash balance? For the benefit of the people.
Yes, the all in favor, would you indicate by raising your hand? Those opposed?
I have a question on the floor about the cash balance.
So the motion carries.
It's all serious, the money is serious, it's all serious.
All right, consideration on the new business. Consideration to require all Yeadon Borough police officers to complete mandatory mental health, first aid training.
That's not
A
your
program
purview.
for National Council of Mental Wellbeing and mandatory crisis intervention training, a program for the National Alliance of Mental Health Wellbeing, mandatory crisis intervention training, a program for the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and mandatory diversity training. May I have a motion?
You're overstepping the authority of council.
It's been moved and properly seconded. Are there any questions? Yes.
Isn't this part of the training that they already received?
Yes.
Yes.
I would say the training didn't reflect anything. Look at what's going on there.
Okay, so we're saying that the training that was already in place wasn't sufficient, and that's what we're saying?
They already undergo all that training. I could add to that, that's one of the reasons why we're over on our overtime, because there's a lot of training and it takes time. And when you're understaffed, you can't shortcut that training, that type of training. So they are trained, and the other thing is, we've had
Mr.
good.
Mayor, hold your comment. Hold your comment, please. The motion is on the floor.
I have a question as well.
We're going to move the motion.
I have a question as well.
Okay. Ms. Monroe.
So during Citizens Forum, Ms. Colleen, I don't remember her last name. Kennedy. Ms. Colleen Kennedy brought up a very great point. If you know, we know that the police department receives a plethora of training. It's required by law in all of these subjects. But if we are hoping to be able to review our policies and procedures and identify any deficiencies, shouldn't that what the additional training be for, not the training that they already received? And absent an actual investigation, how are you going to determine what's deficient and what to train them on?
That's next on the
This is, so what you're saying, so you're
That is next on the
you're also
agenda.
interrupting, and you're putting the cart before the horse if you're asking for training, and you don't know what the training needs.
Okay, we're moving on, Councilor.
I have a question. So I do echo what Councilman Monroe just stated there. In addition, we would be overstepping our bounds. The police department already has state mandated training that they have to participate in. So for us to actually put this type of motion on the floor would give the perception that we're inadequate. And I do not want to give the perception that our police department is inadequate absent any type of investigation whatsoever. We're not going to play the assumption game. Details were not provided to the entire council. I'm not just going to go by your word or anyone else's word. I want facts. I want to see what's in place already. We cannot vote for them to have training, because this is basically saying they don't have this type of training already.
Correct.
And we should not be assuming that. We should not be assuming that. We should have had a table discussion regarding this, including the chief of the police department, the head of the police department, which would be Mayor Hepkins, to find out exactly what is already in place, what is already mandated by the state. So you're going to ask 7 lay people, counselors, to pretend that we have expertise in what the police department should or should not be doing. Just because you feel a certain way. You're wrong.
May I speak, Madam President?
Yes, you're wrong.
When I look at this, any training that has been done, it has been done. Any training that hasn't been done will be done. There's nothing wrong with that. If the mayor can show that some of this has been done, fine.
Then why
did we ask? But anything that has not been done will be done.
Let me remind the councilors, one thing I can say, that's one of the reasons that the former chief was ostracized and banned, because he had to spend a lot of overtime to make sure that this training was done. And he was highly criticized for overspending overtime, because he made sure that these police were not deficient in the training that they needed. So that's what happened. So I find it very ironic to now come around to say that they need this training, and we're short-staffed and they need that training overtime. So I find it very ironic to now bring up that point where this guy was fired for doing his job.
So I have another question, Council President. Where's the money for this training coming from, and who's conducting the training? Where's the money coming from? Where's the money coming from? Where's the money coming from for this training?
That's a valid
Where's the money?
That's a valid question.
Let me
God in heaven.
simply say that whether this training has happened 5 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever that.
It happens every
It
single
happens yearly, sometimes twice a year, 2 or
Excuse
3
me.
times a year.
Whatever that scenario is, that is not the question before this council tonight. In response to the death of Sean Muncher,
That's not his name, and we don't have.
Excuse me, ladies.
That's not his name.
It is imperative we move forward to get answers for the family and for the community. Tonight.
Why didn't you call a special meeting right away?
Would you please stop breaking into this conversation? You had your opportunity to speak. Now I'm speaking. Thank you. The consideration for our police officers to have the best practices exemplified in our police department. This council is in its full authority to authorize, pay money for, any additional training that the Yeadon Police Department may require and may need. That is the purpose of this vote tonight with regards to these trainings.
Shouldn't you find out?
Whether there's, would you please respect this chamber and stop blurting out, please. Whatever this training can provide to our police officers here can only be a plus for them. The consideration for services by the Valori Group
Wait,
to
we're
conduct,
in a different,
would you please
we're in
stop
A.
it? Stop
We're in A, you're going to B.
This vote for this additional training is to make sure that what happened to Sean doesn't happen again. It has never happened here in this town that we have lost a life, especially when 6 officers were present in the department.
There's an open
So the situation is whatever their training was, whatever training they lacked, whatever additional training they need, we are taking a proactive position here to make sure they get it. Would you stop? No, you did not.
Are we going to be facing
the training? Raise your hand.
I have a
Or
question.
indicate. No, I'm not acknowledging
My
you.
question was,
I am not
who's
acknowledging
paying,
you.
where are we getting the money to pay for the training and who's conducting it?
Overtime, like Chachi did. I find it very ironic.
fired them.
Chachi took a proactive position
Okay, all
to
in
make sure they had a training, and he took overtime, and he got fired. He got fired.
But now he's on the job.
Councilor Lee, what is your pleasure?
That is correct.
Are you voting for?
4,000 hours of training and was yelled at for doing it.
Okay.
Councilor Monroe, what is your pleasure, please? And vote.
I'm going to abstain, I don't have enough information for
Thank you,
this
ma'am.
consideration.
Thank you.
And I asked 2 questions for the record,
Madam-
who's paying
Madam
for the
Councilor
training
Cloud,
and who's
what is your
conducting the
pleasure?
training? I'd like that for the record, who's paying for it and who's conducting it?
I'm going to abstain as well.
Thank you, ma'am.
Simply because assumptions are being made with respect to a tragic incident without an investigation being conducted.
Madam President, we have 1 no vote, 2 abstentions.
Okay, indicate that. Consideration to engage the services of the Valori Group to conduct an efficiency study of the Yeadon Borough Police Department and search for a Yeadon Borough Chief of Police.
We have a chief.
Move it. Second, it's been moved and properly seconded.
I have a
Are there any
question.
questions?
I have a question.
I have a
You may ask
question.
your question.
Would you like to go first?
Sure. So again, where did this group come from? Because I saw a fee of $25,000 for this investigation, study for the police department. $25,000, something that expensive needs to go for RFP. Were there any other proposals submitted?
We discussed it in executive session.
Were there any other proposals submitted?
You have those.
Were there any
You
other
have that
proposals
information.
submitted?
Yes,
The people want to know.
I would like
Was
to
there
know.
any
I
other
would like to know.
proposals submitted?
Okay.
Oh.
No.
No. No other proposals.
Spend.
So it must be somebody cousin's Benny. Cousin's Benny group.
So this is, okay, are you done with your questions, Councilman?
Yeah, because I can't. I'm ready to go.
So,
Please advocate for the residents.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I'm ready to go.
Okay,
because
so
this
we're
is
ready
nonsense.
well, no, I have questions as well. So my question is, how can we honestly vote on this for $25,000 when this amount does not include travel expenses, meals, mileage to and from Hainesport, New Jersey and Yeadon, PA, and any additional expenses as needed and as agreed by both parties. That's well over $25,000. This is not a true estimate. The Valori Group, when you told me to Google them, it's one private investigator who was a military police officer, a therapist, and an electrician. That's what makes up the group. And this is supposed to help us identify what's wrong in our police department and prevent tragedies.
Supposed to be addressing the chair.
That's okay, prevent tragedies. But the chair's not even listening, so I started addressing the audience. So this is not something that was discussed prior to a few minutes ago. This is not something that we've had a chance to vet. You yourself said that you found them 2 days ago online and have been going back and forth for 2 days.
That is not.
Who recommended them?
You have lied.
She didn't say she found them online 2 days ago. She said
That she's been communicating with them for 2 days.
found them.
And if anyone
She found them in a Cracker Jack box.
That was an executive session.
And then also, it's very bothersome to me that this firm has been communicating with you on your personal email, not your borough email. Which makes me believe that there's some discrepancies here. I don't believe that this is the group for us. And I also would like the family and the protesters to understand that if you look at C, people are put on and people are taken off. This is a farce. Don't be fooled.
Okay, all in favor?
And it just goes to show you that tragedy is not being taken seriously by this entire council. It's being used, it's being exploited for political personal
Those who
agendas.
are opposed.
The blood is on their hands.
You can raise your hand.
I'm
I'm a no.
Yeah, I'm opposed. Who else is opposed? We're opposed.
The motion carries. Madam President, at this point,
So what also is not written here, and what's being lost here, is that there's a $12,000 engagement letter that's missing that none of us have seen to conduct the search for the chief of police. That's in addition to the $25,000, plus meals, plus expenses, plus firecrackers, plus whatever else they want.
Wait just a minute, Ms. Carlette, we have to do.
She needs your vote, Carlette.
Yeah. Oh, no. Okay, we just gotta make the amendment to this, agenda for the 12,000 for the.
How much is she paying you?
Let's
How much is she paying you for your votes, Carlette?
When you leave.
So rude, you need to go to school. Learn some manners.
Sorry, your kids.
So rude.
So council can yell that out to the residents.
So rude. Okay.
How'd that charter school go?
So the additional $12,000 for the chief of police search, I need that approval. So moved. Yes. Second.
I have questions.
Are there any questions?
Yes, I have questions.
That's for the chief.
We have not seen an engagement letter.
For the chief of police by the
I'm doing
same.
for nothing. We got one in the back of the room. Right there.
So I have questions.
It's been moved, my God. Moved and properly second. All in favor with your.
No, I have questions. I have questions. I have questions.
Okay, all right, moved and properly second.
There are questions.
Your question, please.
We have not seen any engagement letter. We have not seen a course of action. We don't know whether we're paying for transportation, meals, housing, and whatever else we were paying for in the previous contract. We have no information. Has anyone on this floor seen a copy of this alleged letter stating that an engagement letter? Has anyone seen it?
Tell them that you saw it. The solicitor saw it.
Has any counselor seen it? We are fiscally responsible for this borough. He is being paid with their tax dollars. So we need to see this. We don't know what we're agreeing to. And we also didn't
It's in your email.
It is not in our email. It is not.
Double check your email.
It is not in our email.
It's in your.
Well, who sent it? They say their iPads aren't working. Who sent it?
Okay, that's it. Okay.
It is not in my email. The last email I received was from 2:40 from the Glory Group with the proposal that some of you all have in the audience.
You can vote no if you are opposed.
But we should have the information.
You have the information.
No, we don't. Do not. We do not.
You were given.
We do not. We don't have it. We don't have it.
All right.
We don't have it. And you know we don't have it. We don't have it. You did not get it. You gave it to a select individual. There wasn't anyone that not get it.
The motion carries.
The motion carries. All right.
We don't even know who voted.
Consideration for.
He doesn't, the borough manager does not even know who voted.
I'm the secretary
Okay.
representing the borough. What is the vote?
There wasn't a vote.
Please.
There was
Is there
not
a
a
vote? The
vote.
motion was made.
There was not a vote taken.
There was a vote taken.
All,
You were busy
Ms.
talking.
Madam President, who asked for all in favor of, what was the vote, please?
There wasn't a vote.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank
Those
you.
that are opposed.
All that are opposed, please.
I don't even know why I'm over here.
For the school district.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, the chief, sir. Yes.
Thank you very much. Are there any other votes that have been recorded? Ms. Monroe?
No.
Thank you very much. Are you saying no?
No.
Thank you. Are you, Ms. Goldbauer? I'm not asking. I'm asking you a question. I'm asking you a question. Is it yes, is it no, or abstain? To the motion, please. For the record.
And here you go. You got as dumb as a box of dirty rocks buried out there in Atlantic City, Baltimore. You be talking out your mouth sideways all the time.
You are 12.
All the time. I'm sick of you. I am sick of you.
Oh, and you think
I'm
I'm
sick
crazy
of
about
you.
you? You really think I care?
Ms. Goldbauer, what is your pleasure, please?
The vote.
Tell the man what you
What is your
please.
pleasure? Thank you, ma'am.
That was gonna be in here. Okay, now.
You should know, because I'm not going to go for your nonsense.
Okay, for the.
Anybody who follow behind
Okay,
you.
consideration. No, she
And I know the penguin I told you. That Humpty Dumpty. I know you ain't talking.
Consideration to rescind the hiring of Kelly Johnson.
You said we wasn't voting on that. You said we were not voting on that. So how is it that the public may have wanted to, you said we weren't voting on that.
So she left. What's wrong with this? Okay, that's it.
Did she say we were not voting on that?
We don't even have competent dictators. That's insulting.
Again, my agenda, everyone wants to hear from the mayor. It's always put at the back so that I can't speak. And then it's always, the meeting's always adjourned so that the mayor doesn't get to speak.
Great job serving your community.
Yeah.
Praise against the machine.
So I don't get to speak. The guy asks me questions from the mayor. I don't get to speak
You
again.
can speak now. Tell us what you have to say. Too late. That poor man wanted answers from the mayor at that moment. The mayor doesn't even want us to protest. He should be given answers.
Mayor, your time is coming.
They called the mother of Sean, telling her not to show up for her son. Her son is gone. And you're telling them not to come out. Yes, you did. Do not lie to me because you didn't call a kid yesterday telling me not to come out and protest.
Oh my God.
Do not lie about what you told that family today. Why she's not here. You are the reason. You are the reason. You are the reason. You all are held accountable for the death of Sean. It could have been preventable. And you're standing up here
I
failing
don't
to
even
do
know who
your
I'm
job.
talking to. I don't even
Oh,
know.
Diamond did what you did yesterday when you lost my phone. You did. So let's not even have this
That's not
conversation.
the conversation I
If
had.
anything, he wanted to have a private meeting with me and my organization and the family. If anything, this meeting is now going to be a town hall because the community deserves to know what happened. They're failing to give no answers to come to a reason. We're not the ones that are inside of this. You are. Do your job.
She-
Stop introduce that to the public. That's my fault.
I try to address it, you won't let me speak.
Look, there will be a town hall with the family, all of council was invited, you can come, you can answer questions, that's your time to be heard to the community, because this backhanded shit is over, it's done.
When are you having a meeting?
Details will be announced on Facebook, social media, and we'll be sharing it throughout the family. You can TJ,
Okay, thank you.
or Delta Resist, or other groups.
Mayor,